country, but also balance protecting civil liberties. Civil society groups, independent media proliferated, exercising their newfound rights to hold Tunisia's leaders accountable. But amidst all of this progress, institutional reforms and accountability initiatives, they really stalled, and economic conditions worsened. Widespread corruption persisted, public services got worse, there was police brutality left and right, and the political elites were just squabbling. It ended up being a pretty terrible advertisement for democracy. Tunisian people saw what democracy looked like, and they didn't love it. It was in this context that President Kais Saied promised Tunisians that he was going to fix this mess that many Tunisians had grown really tired of. When I first met President Saied in Tunisia in August of 2021, he told me and our delegation that his intent was not to get rid of democracy, but that he was just going to fix the problem of Tunisia having adopted the wrong kind of democracy, the wrong model, and he was just going to bring a model that worked. But I'm going to be honest, in that same meeting, I saw all the trappings of a despot in waiting. President Saied was self-adulating, saying that he was the only one pure enough to lead. Everybody else was tainted and corrupt. He was conspiratorial about dark enemies he saw around every corner. He bristled at public criticism, telling me no less than 3 times that his seizure of power was not a coup. I left that meeting pretty convinced that Tunisia was likely headed in the wrong direction. And unfortunately, over the last 21 months, my worst fears have borne to be true. Since that meeting, President Saied has followed a dictator's handbook, almost to the letter, disbanding parliament, writing a new constitution that consolidates his power, disbanding judicial independence and employing military tribunals, arresting members of the opposition, including just recently this week, treason charges for the leader of the primary opposition. These are not the actions of a leader who intends to restore democracy just under a different model. Over the last 21 months that President Saied has been steadily dismantling Tunisian democracy, the U.S. policy, unfortunately, has been hesitant. I would argue that it's been half-hearted and often naive. By failing to draw hard lines in the sand, Saied has felt confident in taking one step after another to consolidate power and ignore polite requests from American diplomats to change course. We're talking about Tunisia and only Tunisia today because I would argue that this is a place for the United States to correct course when it comes to our tendency to talk a tough game on human rights and democracy, but then not really lead by example. We cut deals with dictators. We sell billions of dollars of weapons to dangerous autocrats. We send regular signals that there are few consequences for your political and economic relationship with the United States if you move from democracy to repression. And so I argue that this is a hearing in which, through the prism of Tunisia policy, we can also talk about how we can't afford this duality, talk tough but act often too weakly on human rights and democracy. So we're going to ask these questions today, how we can adjust our assistance policies so that we are supporting the Tunisian people and their ability to speak freely and to hold their leaders accountable. We're going to ask how we can empower our diplomats to do that work inside Tunisia.
كونغرس يبحث على مشروع دولي لتنحي قيس سعيد بالقوة لحليف إيران وعميل إيران والذي يستقوي أمام الشعب التونسي بإيران ويأخذ في الأسلحة يعني صواريخ H-55 المحرمة دوليا وهي صواريخ باليستية محرمة دوليا. طبعا عديد القراء هذا السيناتور كان مع قيس سعيد وزاره في تونس وتأكد أنه إنسان مريض نفسي وإنسان همه الوحيد البقاء وإنسان متحيل وفاشل. الأرقام اليوم تقول الشعب التونسي 90% ضد قيس سعيد. قيس سعيد لا يتنحى إلا بالقوة. العالم الكل وليس حتى الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية يعني دول العربية، أوروبا، العالم الكل يريد تنحية هذا الفاشل والمتحيل وعميل إيران قيس سعيد، الذي تحيل على الشعب التونسي وجوع الشعب التونسي وأجرم في حق الشعب التونسي وتحيل على شعار المحاسبة، وقال لا، هو المحاسبة، هو المحاسبة تحيل عليها، لم يدخل إلا المعارضين اللي سرقوا البلاد في عهد قيس سعيد وعائلة قيس سعيد أكثر من 3 أضعاف العشرية، وبن علي القروض اللي أخذها أكثر من 3 أضعاف العشرية. طبعا نهاية قيس سعيد أوشكت على النهاية، وقريبا سيتم إزالة هذا الورم اللي شد بالقوة، اللي استقوى على شعبه بالقوة، اللي تحيل على الدستور، تحيل على الانتخابات، ما انتخبوا حتى حد، انتخابات مزورة بشهادة العالم والشعب التونسي. التوانسة 91.3% من الشعب التونسي ضد قيس سعيد، وقريبا سينتهي هذا الورم وهذا المتحيل الذي يستقوي بإيران، وهو عميل والعمالة والخيانة والاستقواء بالأجنبي عنوانها الوحيد قيس سعيد.